Hi guys, this is Mr. Evans. I am Mrs. Vale's practicum teacher this semester, so you've probably seen me at least once or twice by now. But I'm going to be teaching this e-learning lesson on photosynthesis and some of the alternative routes within photosynthesis. So there's going to be a series of 3 videos that go with this, and this is the first of those 3. And in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit of a review on the Calvin cycle, but only as it pertains to different ways of doing photosynthesis. So if you haven't gotten to it in class yet, don't panic. It's not going to be anything too crazy. And then we're also going to be looking at the concept of transpiration. And so if you look at learning outcome 3, explain the role of stomata in balancing photosynthesis and water loss. That's something that we're going to be diving into in this video. And then in the next video, we're going to look at C4 and CAM, which are 2 different routes of doing photosynthesis in a different way. And then in the final video, we're going to be looking more at photorespiration and this last bullet point on the learning outcomes. And that should help us sort of understand how different ways of doing photosynthesis have detrimental implications or beneficial implications for plants and for the environment. So just to review a little bit here on on the Calvin cycle, I'm going to go to my picture here. So this is a picture of the Calvin cycle, and there's 3 stages in the Calvin cycle. Carbon fixation, that's number 1. Reduction, and this is the step where we use a bunch of high energy compounds like ATP to make sugars, and then regeneration to restart the cycle all over again. And the step that's really important to the concepts that we're going to be diving into is this first step of carbon fixation. In normal photosynthesis, carbon fixation involves carbon dioxide being fixed into a 3-carbon compound. And so in normal photosynthesis, we call that C3 photosynthesis. All right, so with that, let's go back into our slides here. Okay, so stomata are really important structures within plants. I think stomata are actually really cool. They're not really like skin pores, but they do allow for entrance of gases in plants like carbon dioxide. They're also not really like lungs because they're not like a vascular tissue. That they don't help the plant breathe. They just allow carbon dioxide inside. And then there's also these guard cells, and these are cells just like the Secret Service at the White House, or a guard, what you would expect of a guard. They protect the stomata and regulate whether it opens or whether it closes. Okay, so transpiration is a super important concept within plants, and it's really cool to me as well. So plants drag up water, and I'm going to pull up my app here. So I'm going to draw myself a little plant. I'm not a great artist, so this is going to be fun. And this is a flower or something, we'll say. And here's some roots. There's the dirt. Okay, so plants pull water up from the ground through the root system. And so if you can see my cursor here, it starts in the roots, and plants pull that up, and it defies gravity. Like, plants don't have muscles, and yet they can pull water up. And when you're talking about big plants like redwood trees in California, literally pulling them up thousands of inches, just up and up and up and up. I think that's amazing and worth talking about. So plants lose water, though, is the issue through stomata. Some of the water leaves as H2O gas, but the plant needs water and carbon dioxide both for photosynthesis. So this can be sort of a problem because we want to make sure that plants have enough water, and they lose water when the stomata is open. So you would think maybe we should close the stomata more, but if the stomata is closed, then carbon dioxide can't get in. So there's sort of a balancing effect where plants need to have enough water and enough carbon dioxide to be able to do photosynthesis. All right, and so one of the specific factors that affect transpiration is higher temperatures, and this ultimately can lead to lower rates of photosynthesis. Before we move on, I want to point something out here. The singular form of stomata is stoma, so one stoma, multiple stomata. But don't confuse this with stroma, which is the inside area of the chloroplast that you talk about in the light reactions. So not the same thing, but just wanted to point that out. Okay, and then there's also this concept of photorespiration. And photorespiration is kind of a dangerous thing because I sort of have an analogy here that I'll use to explain photorespiration. So imagine you're trying to make some chocolate chip cookies, and for chocolate chip cookies you need your sugar and butter and all these different ingredients. Some people use shortening, and yeah, I'm sure there's some bakers out here that know better than me. But imagine that you want to change the starting ingredients in your chocolate chip cookies so that you're using salt in place of sugar because you don't have enough sugar. Well, if you use salt in place of sugar in your chocolate chip cookies, they're going to turn out disgusting. But that's sort of what plants do in photorespiration. They change the starting ingredients so that they're no longer using carbon dioxide. Instead, they're using water, or they're using oxygen. And so they're using oxygen to react with this RUBP instead of carbon dioxide, and then they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that's kind of counterproductive to how things work out for us, because as consumers, we use the oxygen that plants produce, and we exhale carbon dioxide ourselves. So this doesn't really help us out too much. And so in the next video, we're going to talk more about how there's different routes of doing photosynthesis that minimize water loss and prevent plants from having to go this route of photorespiration where they're using the wrong ingredients to make their cookie.